Hi, everyone from Singapore. This a few hours ago, Netflix announced a slate of originals, 41 originals, including 13 new films, plus 3 films already on air in 2021. Sorry, I'm not seeing, am I seeing SRISHTI? Ah, there you are, SRISHTI. Hi. Sorry, I'll start again. Including 13 new films. That's 3 films already on air in 2021 and 33 since the beginning of the year, plus 17 last year. I mean, that's a lot on Movie Mojo we're talking about. So I'd like to welcome SRISHTI ARYA, the woman behind Netflix India original movies for almost 3 years, coming up for a 3-year anniversary. We'll be talking about where exactly this movie energy is coming from, and some of the films that she announced this afternoon. Thanks for joining us, SRISHTI, and thanks AFAQs for putting on this panel. As I just said in my intro, you've announced a massive slate of 41, 13 of them are directly under you, plus 3, plus 17 from last year. That's a lot of money, a lot of energy, across a very broad range of styles. What were the considerations in going this broad?
Janine, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. It's always a pleasure to be at the vdonxt. What we've always done at Netflix, and if you see globally as well, is that we try to be as diverse as possible in the kind of content that we are putting out. Right? We want to make sure that no matter what mood you're in, when you come onto the service, you get exactly what you need. So it's like having a companion in the content that you're watching. So what we really look for is a lot of passion from the creators and authentic storytelling. I'm just going to add a bit to that in saying that what we mean by authentic is not always something that's gritty or an underbelly or something like that, but it's true to the world that it's meant to be in. Right? So you could be doing a super sci-fi kind of movie or a mythology film. And although those rules don't apply, the film is authentic to what it is. I think when you're looking at why the creator wants to make a story, the passion just kind of translates. And if it comes onto us, off the page, jumping at us, it's more than just likely to come off onto our members as well. And ultimately what you want to do is to make sure that all our members enjoy themselves. It brings member joy. It makes people feel, you get excited, you get frightened, you weep, you laugh, and you just we love content.
So when you say not only the gritty underbelly, obviously those are the ones that you and other competitors have launched onto the global stage with. What's on the other, in the slate that you announced today, what's on the other end of that, the happy, cheerful stuff? I know I think you have some comedy amongst the movie titles.
Yes, we do. Actually, it's always a lot of the gritty stuff, or what people believe to be the darker, grittier stuff, is a lot of the fan favorites. And I think that kind of breaks across because, as we say, your Netflix is not my Netflix. And depending on what it is that you like to watch, you get, the recommendations come to you with that experience in mind as well. But now, as people are trying more and more, as you've seen, people are more curious about different stories, about different languages, films coming from different parts of the country, from outside the world during the pandemic. We've seen that a lot of people have tried a lot of different things. So now they're going to begin to see what we're putting out as well. So far as even last year, in 2020, we did have, small heartwarming films alongside the big ones. In fact, Ludo, which was our biggest comedy film last year, was viewed by more than half our members. So, I mean, it was massive. And if you see Gunjan Saxena, which was our most viewed drama, most loved drama, actually, I should say, is something that's not typically associated, from the starting days. So we've seen a lot, but of course we also have Raat Akeli Hai, which was our noir thriller space with our Nawazuddin Siddiqui moment, which was enjoyed as well. But then watching Nawaz in Serious Men, which was based on Manu Joseph's book, in a satirical take on the different places that you could come from, the different advantages that you have and by birth in this country. It was really gratifying to see that the audience just wants to see a really good movie, a good story, well told, with the right intention. So I think when we're looking, that's what we're looking for.
I'll take that on the global stage. I mean, you have a global canvas. So obviously, it's authentic India stories, but there is this global canvas that you're playing with. How far can you stretch genre and content boundaries? And what would you say is a perfect example, if there is such a thing, of a film that would never have been made if not for Netflix, and also of a film that managed to straddle that local and international demand?
Well, what we have been seeing a fair bit of is that we've seen that a lot of our titles, including some titles that are licensed for us, have been popping in different countries. AK versus AK, which was our Christmas launch, was something that popped up in 40 countries. We've seen this Telugu film of ours called Ala Vaikunthapuramalu, which was on the top 10 list in 13 countries. In fact, we've seen some of it on the unscripted side as well. And, with Bollywood vibes, or Gunjan Saxena, which was again in a lot of countries, which was in over 13 countries itself. So there is a bit of cultural exchange, if I may call it that, that has begun. And I think a great ambassador, again, a Netflix film is The White Tiger. The excitement with which the film has been received globally, which is an India story as well. But if I was to call out a film that I believe or have been told is something that only Netflix could do, I would say it would be AK versus AK, because it was a meta thriller where the protagonist and the antagonist played themselves from real life, but like hyper versions of it, and it was beginning to blur the lines of what was happening in real life versus what happened. It was really interesting because our director of that film, Vikramaditya Motwane, who also was the showrunner on Sacred Games and has made films like Lutera and Udan and Trapped in the past, when he came to us with this material, and we were like, how are you going to do this? Because there's so much of dirty laundry being washed in the in this title, and which actor is going to agree to do this, and which director is going to agree for this bashing that they did. But my God, the two AKs, they just took the opportunity with both hands, and not just through the making of the film, but also when we were marketing the movie. And it was really a great high point for us because that was the maximum we actually heard that just Netflix could do this.
Another thing that perhaps there are only a handful of people can do is give local diversity that global platform. And I know diversity is a global theme that you have absorbed and are making sure happens in your slate, in your cast and crew on the ground, across everything you do. Talk to me a little bit about how you make sure that you are as diverse as you possibly can be. And I'm particularly interested in women filmmakers, because we were talking a little bit earlier and you said 50% of a lot of the cast and crew and directors are female.
So, this is a moment that is something that we're very proud of here at Netflix India, especially, is that 50% of our slate last year was in fact helmed by either a female producer or female director. Which is a highly unusual statistic in this market. And actually, I would say, to be fair, in the global market as well. I wouldn't say it was by design. I think it's a little bit of the opportunity that women are feeling. It's a little bit of keeping ourselves open to seeing what's happening. And if you truly want to be diverse, right, you have to show representation of half the population of the world. And not just that, it's also the gaze that they come in with. So if you see a female filmmaker like, say, Suni Tarapurwala, who waited 12 years after Little Zizu to make Ye Ballet for us, was telling a story about these two boys in an underprivileged background, learning to do ballet based on a true story, if you please, with a crotchety old Israeli ballet teacher who comes in. And if you haven't seen it, I think you'd quite enjoy it. In fact, Reed had called it out in one of his the films that he enjoyed really watching and recommended earlier this year, last year, sorry, in 2020. Gosh, it's been a while. And at the same time, you see a first-time filmmaker like Sharan Sharma, who's, he's making his first movie, and he's making it about a female protagonist based on a real life Air Force pilot. And he captures the nuances of a father-daughter relationship with such sensitivity that you just, wonder where it's coming from. So I would say it's not just in seeing the protagonist, which, by the way, across films and series was a 50-50 split for women and men, but you also see the gaze that they take. It's that moment in time that they are, and you see that represented. So, you have the opportunity of seeing yourself represented, your people represented, or to be transported into a world which could be aspirational or terrifying, but again, like, adds to the kind of choices that you would want to make. And I think that's the opportunity of being on a service like Netflix.
You've also been extraordinarily kind, as you said, to a few first-time filmmakers. How are you finding the access to a much broader, a much bigger opportunity has changed the production environment? Ties into another question I want to ask, which is, how has your background as a producer in a previous life informed what you do and the opportunities you give to people?
Janine, I'm just going to just say one thing. It's people have been really kind to bring their stories to us first. That they choose us is something that we feel amazingly privileged about. It's they trust us with their, with their deepest dreams. And that's huge for us. And it's really encouraging to see so many female storytellers, whether they're writers or directors or producers or actors, or in many, many capacities. We've just got a new first-time female DOP shooting in this grueling film. And it's really nice to see all of them come forward and, trust us to be able to bring their vision onto a larger global platform. But yes, as a producer, I mean, I've been around for a while now. I think since the dark ages when we used to come, I feel as old as the hills. But it's been incredible to see this journey of the entire ecosystem. And it's great that Netflix as a company is so invested in bringing best practices to wherever we go. And the one thing that I found amazing when I moved right in, when you're working on the outside as a producer, you're looking at things from a particular lens. And you think that, on the other side of the table, everything is so soft and cushy. And there are no problems. And if they like your face, they're going to do it. And if they don't like it, they're not going to do it. But when you sit on the other side, if you continue to remember where you came from, that's, I think, the biggest thing you can do. And it was so wonderful for me when I put the Netflix hat on to find that here is an entire company that believes in the creatives, that wants to give people the opportunity to display their creative excellence. So to empower people with the means to do it and to genuinely want to do it, I think it couldn't have gotten better for somebody who's a former producer in another life. I kept waiting that somebody's going to tell me, don't bother with this. Oh, you don't have to talk this one. And everybody was like, you have to read and listen and watch everything you can, because you don't want to lose out on the next great work that the director is going to do, or the first great work that they're going to do. And that's it's mind-bending.
Do you miss that life, that old life?
On some days, yes. I miss being on set sometimes, to be very honest with you. And I have, of course, I know a lot of the filmmakers, and sometimes they're really mean to me. Janine, can I please complain?
Yeah, complain away. Go on.
They'll call me and they'll say, we just finished the recce and we're all like going to get a beer together, but you're sitting in office. And I'm like, yes, I am. No, I'm not on outdoor. But, I miss that. But I'm deeply, deeply grateful for the opportunity, because there was no way that in that capacity, I would have ever been able to do the kind of volume or to be able to empower so many people in my own little way to, make their movies.
I mean, so you joined Netflix almost 3 years ago, as you said. A lot has changed in the last 3 years. I mean, there's a lot more players, there's a lot more money and energy going into premium drama, which is and especially series. I mean, Bollywood has also changed significantly in the last 3 years. And I think that is because of the streaming platforms. But the Netflix way, if I can put it in inverted commas, I mean, Netflix has a specific tech spec, specific way of doing things and processes that don't always translate from, some people have a difficulty translating from domestic to global. And it stretches and challenges existing production infrastructure and reshapes the entire process. What kind of resource have you put into re-engineering the local filmmaking ecosystem? And how far do you think you've come, and how far do you think you have to go?
That's a great question, and it's really complex. And I have a lot of cross-functional partners internally who contribute a lot to this. We've been doing workshops with global players to come in and talk, especially on post-production, best practices for that, and VFX, and storytellers, writers to kind of work on writers' rooms. So we try to bring it in. I, for one, always believe that we have tremendous talent in India. And what we need is a little bit of channelizing. And I feel that that is our role as the Indian executives in Netflix, to kind of marry the ecosystem. We already have the talent and we have the storytelling. And we haven't necessarily had access or understanding. And if there's anything you know about Indians, we can adapt. And I don't think that there's anything that anybody is doing in the world that we can't get our heads around. So sometimes it's a little challenging, because we are a very big film industry, and we have successfully delivered so much. And there is a thinking of, if it ain't broke, why fix it? But I think growth and moving forward in life is something that we all believe in, and we all have a legacy of film, and we have a tremendous future as Indian filmmakers. And once that clicks, I've seen a lot of people, they take to it once you understand why. And I think that job probably comes on us. And what's been super gratifying is to have seen that people have come in and done a film with us, and then when they're doing something else theatrically, or they're doing whatever else that they want to do, they actually try and use those practices in their own system. So we've had like callbacks saying that, oh, can we use that format that you did, or can you introduce me to so and so? And that's the beauty of all the cross-functional partners as well, because whether it's production management, or it's post-production, or VFX, or production finance, they're so happy to share, because this is not something that is going to happen in isolation. This is something that an entire ecosystem has to believe in and move forward. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be delivering at the quality as the rest of the world. God knows we can do it.
Are you doing it? How far do you think you have to go?
Original Indian content started just about 3 years ago, actually. 5 years ago we came in. So I think I've seen people pivot really quickly in a lot of things, especially with the people who are doing a repeat job with us. And I would say that one never says that you're quite there, because that's the end, and stillness is the end of growth. So there's a long way to go. But I would say that for the partners, I would say about a 7 on 10. And for myself, I would say maybe a 6. For the externals to be a 7.
Hard taskmaster. And we have a few more minutes. What's your biggest, I don't want to talk about mistakes, I'd rather talk about the learnings. What's the biggest learning you've had in your 3 years at Netflix?
I think the biggest learning has been that people, there's this quote by Orson Welles that I have now on my phone as a screensaver. It says that there's nothing that people don't understand. What's important is to interest them, and then they understand everything. So I'm paraphrasing, it's not accurate, but I think that's become a mantra for me. I think that expectation that, oh, people don't get this, or people won't get that, that no longer stands for me. Creatively, in terms of the movies that they watch or the processes that they can follow, there's so much that we can learn. We just need to get a buy-in at every level, and they're in.
Great. Well, wishing you lots of luck. I think we've come to the end. I'm not getting any signals, but my clock tells me we're at the end of the session. I think we could possibly talk all night. But if we could close with the question about winning. What of this slate? What when we come to the end of this? Because I understand that you're not actually finished commissioning for this year. That the 13 plus 3 could actually turn into a lot more. What at the end of this year will look like a win for you? How will you end the year thinking, I did it?
No, I'm not the kind of person who's going to end the year saying I did it. But what would make me very happy
I did something amazing. Okay.
is no, what would make me really happy is that, you know, that Netflix India is the definitive home film. And, you know, the opportunity of telling diverse stories and people coming and sampling all of that, and knowing that when they come onto Netflix, they're going to find their next favorite film there, that would make me very happy.
Great. Well, on that note, Srishti, thank you very much for joining us. I look really forward to meeting you in person at some point.
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you again, AFAQs, for hosting this session. It's been really interesting.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.